Hello, I'm Jeremy Nicholas. Welcome to the After Dinner Show, and I've got some brilliant guests for you this evening. Paul du Toit is a speaker coach from Johannesburg who runs mornings and tinkers on his guitar at night. David Hyner is a motivational speaker who's cooked or served food to 5 members of the British royal family. And Liz Allen listens and speaks for a living. She loves fun and is constantly on the lookout for it. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Jeremy.
Lovely to see you. So Paul's joining us live from Johannesburg. Liz is in Hungerford and David's in Staffordshire. Is it Eccleshall?
Is it? Yeah, Eccleshall. Yeah, close enough.
Oh, Eccleshall. Right. Yes, I've got to do a bit more Sean Connery on it. Eccleshall. Eccleshall. Brilliant. Okay. And so I watched the One Show, which is like a BBC One 7 o'clock daytime show, and they had Charlize Theron on, and there was a big thing about how to say her name, and I thought, oh, I'd hate it when people go on about the names, but now I've got Paul du Toit on. I've got to just do a thing about your name, because I always call you du Toit and you always like being called du Toit. Just talk me through that, Paul.
Well, actually, you're wrong on both accounts. It's actually du Toit, and it means of the roof, and the Afrikaners say du Toit, and the English-speaking South Africans say du Toit, which is what they say on the commentary when they're talking about Peter Steff. But actually, du Toit is of the roof, and there's a story behind it, which is too long for this session.
Lovely. Well, that's a cracking start to the show. I'm going to call you Paul. I hope that's going to work.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, just to explain extreme influence you've got on your shirt there.
Yeah, so this was the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa. This was our convention in April last year, of which I was the convener. And this was our theme, so I thought I'd wear it tonight.
Very nice.
Because it's winter here, so I need a long sleeve shirt.
Oh, I hear it's really cold at the moment. What sort of temperatures are you getting?
Oh, at night it's going down to about 2 degrees, and we're managing to get up to about 16, 17 in Joburg, up on the Highveld during the day.
Yeah, and that's why we've decided not to visit. We've all decided to stop at home.
Not now. Now's the worst time.
Yeah. Liz, just talk me through your clocks. I can see 2 clocks, but I think there's 3, isn't there?
There are 3. Do you want to see my 3rd clock?
Oh, there it is, yeah.
There we are, 3 clocks. Oh, well, I've got several children, all mine, and they're scattered around the globe. So there are 2 in the UK, that's the UK clock. 1 in New Zealand, 11 hours ahead. So it's now 7 o'clock in the morning for her. And then Malaysia. So it means I don't have to work out what time of the day it is, or night, indeed. I just look at my 3 clocks on the wall.
I lovely how you said, oh God, I got all these children. They're all mine. It's just like, apart from this one. This one's not mine at all.
That is the thing, isn't it? You never hear of people taking a maternity test, do you? So you can pretty much always tell.
No, Jeremy, it's pretty straightforward, really. You know,
it is, isn't it? David, you've got some rhinos in the background. Just tell me why you've got so many rhinos.
Yeah, got to be careful what you're known for in this industry. A 2-minute section of a 2-hour conversation I deliver is about having a rhinoceros attitude, from the book Rhinoceros Success by Scott Alexander. And people call me the rhino guy and keep sending me rhinos, and I'm going, no, Scott Alexander. But people just assume I'm the rhino guy now.
Yeah. I thought that in the speaker world you were known as the rhino guy because you're very thick-skinned and you've always got the horn. That's what I'd heard, but maybe that's not the
You have a tawdry mind, Nicholas. I like you.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just check that you've all had your dinner, because you have to have had your dinner on the After Dinner Show. Yeah. Yes, good. What's everyone had? David?
Spaghetti bolognese this evening.
No. Nice. Liz?
Spaghetti bolognese. I had scrambled eggs on sourdough toast.
Good. Yeah, trying to make it sound fancier than it is. And Paul?
Leftovers, I'm afraid, mate, but there was a piece of fish cooked with it as well, and a glass of white wine. So it was actually very nice. I love leftovers.
Sounds fantastic. And everyone is going to do a true story for me tonight. Can I just check they are true stories from first-hand experience, not just stuff that you've heard people say? Good, that's perfect. Right, well, let's kick off with David, because he's very nicely put his hand on his heart, or where he imagines his heart might be. I think he's gone a little bit higher, if I'm honest.
Somewhere in here.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I've just remembered Liz used to be a nurse, so he's a bit high. He was doing it there, wasn't he?
Yeah, wrong part of your body, David.
Yeah. Just before we go to David's story, Liz, how many people have you seen die? Because you were a nurse at the sort of end of life care, weren't you? How many people have you seen die?
Oh, well, it's not a competition, I don't need to wow people with this, but I did actually try to work out that it was somewhere in the region between 150 and 200. That's cheerful, isn't it?
Yeah. and that was in your working life, not your private life, wasn't it?
Exactly.
We need to be very clear about that. Yeah,
exactly.
That's impressive. So it's lovely to have you on the show tonight, Liz, cheering us all up. So let's go to David then for this first story. And it's, even though you've teased us with that you've cooked for 5 members of the royal family, this is a different story.
Yeah. When I was in my very early 20s, my friend and I did some songwriting, and we skirted with success but never made it. We blagged our way into the Ivor Novello Awards, which, for anyone who doesn't know, behind the Grammys in America, is probably one of the most prestigious music awards in the world. And we blagged our way in, and we were sat at the table with the who's who of the music industry. As we were walking out, I felt this big push to my shoulders, and I face planted on the coconut matting, walking out the Dorchester, I think it was. And I was picked up, brushed down by this guy going, "I'm really, really sorry. The guy's an idiot. Just send me the dry cleaning bill." And off walked Sir Elton John. His bouncer, making way for Sir Elton, just pushed me to the floor.
Pushed the rhinoceros to the floor.
I know. Yeah. It was some push. He was a big guy.
Didn't he know you were an endangered species?
Here we go again. I'm the rhino guy, apparently.
Yeah. So how did you get into that event? You said you blagged your way in. How did you actually do that?
Well, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be organised by the British Association of Songwriters, Composers and Authors, BASCA. And my friend and I, we joined BASCA as novice songwriters, but in their magazine they sent out for the professionals in the industry, they were advertising, you could buy tickets and tables at the Ivor Novello Awards, but you had to be professionals in the industry to attend. So I basically forged a letter pretending to be a publishing company. And we got in, but it was so obvious that we didn't fit, because we were these 20-year-olds going, "Hello, I'm from Birmingham," and all the press photographers were on the ladders outside, and we got out the taxi and everybody just went, it started talking amongst themselves. So it was very obvious we didn't fit.
There's nothing worse than coming out of an event and the paparazzi get their cameras up and then they literally just look away. I've had that many a time. I was coming out of the players' entrance at West Ham once when I was the stadium announcer at West Ham, and there was this little boy with an autograph book, and when I came out he just held his book up. He's about 6, and he said, "Excuse me, mate, are you anybody?" And I said, "Well, I'm not a player, I'm the stadium announcer, but I'll sign your book for you." And he went, "No, you're all right," and he just closed it up. I've never felt so unimportant in my life. Yeah.
Kids are so honest.
Right, let's go to Liz for a true story then. Now, Liz, you used to work at both ends of Westminster Bridge. I'm scared to even ask what you were doing at the ends of this bridge.
Well, now, can I just, before I start, I'm relying on you to be funny, Jeremy, because this story actually isn't funny. All my funny stories are slightly risque, and I just thought, no, I'll just play it safe. Okay. So this story, I think it's rather nice, actually, rather serendipitously lovely. So in my 20s, I moved to London. I was there for 10 years, and for 5 years, I worked at I trained at St Thomas's Hospital, that world famous now for looking after our Prime Minister. That world famous
big hospital just opposite Houses of Parliament, isn't it? And so that was nice for Boris. When he was poorly, he could look out the window and see where he worked.
Exactly. Well, I have something in common with Boris, because as a student nurse, that was my view. I had a room overlooking Houses of Parliament, right? Anyway, I was there for about 5 years and I got fed up. I left because I was tired of the way the general public and a lot of the doctors, it has to be said, treated the nurses back then. It was very, it was a real hierarchy. So I got fed up and I left. I retrained, applied for a job that was advertised in the Times of London and got it. And guess where I ended up working? I ended up working at the House of Commons. And it was a brilliant job. I've got a lot of stories, but clearly the show isn't all about me, so there isn't time. And I met the most amazing people, and I was there during the Falklands War, which was very exciting. And I met some like Enoch Powell, Tony Benn, Edwina Curry. Yeah, but anyway.
All the good ones then.
All the good ones.
All the nice ones. All the ones you'd love to go for a drink with. Old Enoch. Yeah, lovely.
Not exactly. Anyway, anyway, so I was there for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and I got fed up there, because if you had a good idea, the whole place at that time ran on precedence. So if Oliver Cromwell thought it was a good idea, then you were in, but otherwise it had to go through about 18 million committees. So I got bored and I left. Anyway, move forward. I don't like to say fast forward. Move forward to fairly recently, when I wanted to create a graphic for my current work, and the lads doing it said, right, you've got to do a voiceover, 80-second script, no more. They wouldn't allow me anymore. Did it, boom. And about a month later, they came back to me, this lot who'd done my graphic for me, and they said, we're pitching for a job in London. We think our client, you know, if we get it, you've got the right voice to do the voiceover for their production. Are you interested? And you get paid. Great, I'm in. Anyway, about 2 weeks later, I get a call from them to say, yeah, we've got the job and they want you to do the. And the job was, oh, I just love it. The script was all about teaching doctors at St. Thomas's Hospital how to communicate effectively with their patients. Boom! So all these years later, Liz is not present, but my voice is rattling around St. Thomas's Hospital, teaching them how to communicate. Don't you think that's really cool?
Because the doctors were mean to you all those years ago and they didn't listen to the nurses, and now suddenly you were the one telling them how to do it. Brilliant.
Exactly.
Liz, can you just say something for me? Can you just say, check out number 3, please?
Of course, mind the gap. Check out number 3, please.
Yeah. It is the thing when foreigners particularly come to London, they all walk around saying, mind the gap, all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
do you like my story? Do you like my story?
I love your story. Yeah. And so is that still happening to this day? If I was to be becoming a junior doctor at St. Thomas's, would I have your voice telling me what to do?
Possibly. I don't know how many departments I have filtered into, but.
Let's just have a quick drink. So, Liz, what is it you're drinking?
I'm drinking Pimm's. I'm pretending I'm at Wimbledon.
Lovely. David, what's yours?
A single malt called Bunnabyne.
Oh, lovely. 12-year-old single malt. And Paul, what's yours?
I've got a double wood 12-year-old Balvenie.
Oh, lovely.
Is that ice in there, Paul?
Oh, yeah. We're allowed to do that in South Africa. It gets hot here. Yes, I know the Scottish don't like anything in their whiskey, but there's not much they can do about it. I'm 6,000 miles away.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing in mind. I've just got it neat, nice and neat. Right, let's go to Paul then for your story. What are you going to share with us, Paul?
Okay, so I've ended up being really a presentation skills and a speaker coach, but that wasn't the plan when I was in school. So I got a little band together there, and we played a few numbers, and eventually I left school and did what you do. And I started writing some songs around about the age of 18, 19 years old, and that sort of continued right through until I was about 22. I formed a little duo. I was so serious about it that at one stage I packed up everything in Cape Town and went over to the Netherlands, spent 3 months there trying to crack the big time, going around to all the record companies, trying to get a deal for my partner and myself. The only problem is that he was on the dole in Holland and my money was running out. And eventually when we weren't going places quick enough, and I realized that I couldn't play the guitar like David Gilmour or sing like Freddie Mercury, then I just realized that, we can play okay. And I've written a few good songs, but most of them are crap. And maybe I should go back to selling life insurance, which I'd started doing in Johannesburg before I'd gone to Holland. So I kind of gave it up. And, I've just been tinkering on my guitar. Funnily enough, it tends to happen in winter when we light a fire, and I just sit there, and I'm very inspired by J.J. Cale. I think his stuff is so simple and lovely and easy and laid back, and nobody ever seems to get offended by him. And I've been listening to a lot of J.J. Cale recently. And then on Sunday, the 14th of June, I was just pottering around on my guitar, and the song popped out, you see. And I haven't written a song in probably 38 years. So I managed to write this complete song in about half an hour. And then, I don't know, I probably had a bit too much of the Balvenie or something, but I posted on Facebook. I just wrote a song in 30 minutes. If I get enough dares, I'll record it and put it on Facebook. And of course, my friends, just like I'd laid myself open to this. So the next morning, first thing I did was Monday morning, I came down, I switched on my Rode mic, and I did a one-take recording, and I put it on Facebook. And within minutes, I started getting these compliments and hand claps and this, that, and the next thing. And I thought, well, if people like it, let me try and put it on the J.J. Cale group and see what happens. Well, to cut a long story short, when I looked yesterday, I'd had 1,900 views. Now, if I could get 1,900 views as a presentation skills coach or a speaker, then I'd probably be semi-famous. I never have. So I was so taken by this. Within 48 hours, I'd already had 1,000 views that I thought, well, I'm onto something here. So I wrote another song, and I put that up as well. And I think, David, you've probably heard both of them, because you say you've yeah, it didn't quite get to 1,900, but the second one, Old Dan, got to, I think it's got 675 views or something. So I'm getting comments like that I should stop my day job. But
well, I can see you've got a guitar behind you there, Paul. How would you feel about?
I do.
Yeah. Do you want to give us a? How long is the song? Is it something you should do now, or is it something that we should save till the end of the show?
It's about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
kidding.
that's a little longer than
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes, right?
It's 2.5 minutes, and it's called Wide River. Yeah. And if anyone knows J.J. Cale's music, and if you know Cocaine, that's not J.J. Cale, that's just a commercial J.J. Cale. So I'll just give Wide River a shot and see if it comes out all right.
Fantastic.
It's the first time it's ever been done live, and it's an original composition that was written in half an hour.
What's it called, Paul? And I'll give it a proper intro.
It's called Wide River.
Wide River. Okay. And how am I saying your name again?
Du Toit. Paul of the Roof.
Right.
Okay. Can you do it in your stadium announcer's voice, Jeremy?
Yeah. A stadium announcer's voice. Okay. So goal for West Ham scored by. Ladies and gentlemen, our entertainment at halftime is provided by Paul du Toit with Wide River.
Not wild, wide.
Wide
River. Where you going tomorrow? Wide River. Where you going next? Where in the swelling of the stones and rocks? Wide River, not a care in the world. You're sitting here thinking where you come from. Mama told me rain's coming tomorrow. Wind's blowing down the old ravine. That old river retreat. Wide river, not a care in the world. Sitting here thinking where you come from. Swirling, whirling, old stones and rocks. Wide river, not a care in the world. Oh yeah.
Yay, lovely. Very good. Wide River. I love that.
Wide river.
Yeah.
This feels like the Graham Norton show already.
Yes. So you're on the ground, not the ground. Yeah, come over, budge up on the sofa. Yeah, have you met? This is Liz. This is David. Hello. Yes. The only thing is, when you're saying about Wide River, wonder where you're going, wonder where you're going to be tomorrow, you kind of know where a river's going, don't you? Because it always goes downhill.
Yes, but it doesn't mean you know where it's going.
Well, so if I'm on the Thames, if I'm looking out the Thames on Isleworth towards Richmond, I know where that's going. That is going to Westminster and Tilbury and out to sea, because that is downhill.
Past St Thomas Hospital.
But let me ask you this. Do you know where every grain of water is going, every drop of water? And do you know all the little twists and turns? And you only know where it's going if you've actually walked all along the course of the river.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think I'm better at the sort of hard probing interviews rather than the soft, gentle, artistic ones. I think I've gone in a bit hard there, haven't I? But I put it to you, Mr. Toit. We know exactly where that river's going, and that's why we must not stand for it. Right.
Yeah, but the question also is, where does it come from? And you often don't know that because it comes from several places.
Well, it's the rain, isn't it?
Well, yes, but what about when it hit the ground? Where did it come from? You see, we don't know.
It doesn't feel like the Graham Norton show anymore.
No.
I think I'm actually wondering if I'm on the right show.
Yeah. It's gone a bit QI, hasn't it? I think it comes from a mixture of rain from the skies, little boys weeing from the riverbanks, and icebergs that have melted because of global warming, because of people not recycling their single-use plastic. Now let's go to David for another story, because David sent me some possible choices of story. Tell me about cooking for the royal family. So did you used to be a chef, David? Am I right?
I was a chef, and I worked for event caterers, and then had my own event catering business for many years. And across the many events, I catered for many sort of very successful people. And across all these events, yeah, I catered for 5 members of the British royal family and other international dignitaries and film stars and whatever. And
who were the 5? Were there any of the good ones, or were they just very much Prince Andrew end of things?
Queen, Andrew, Edward, Diana, Anne.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm impressed by the Queen and Diana and Anne, not so much by Edward and Andrew.
Andrew was the only one I actually had a conversation with.
Oh, what was he like?
Well, in that moment, he was very nice, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a lovely man.
Yeah.
Prince Edward I've never really liked, because I was at the Commonwealth Games in Manchester in 2002 working for the BBC, and we were just busy interviewing. I had a whole list of people I had to interview for. I was working for the BBC's Nations and Regions, which meant that if BBC Scotland or BBC Northern Ireland wanted somebody interviewed at the boxing or wherever, I would then go and do an interview, so that everyone didn't have to send their own person. And I had a whole list of people to do. And suddenly they went, right, Prince Edward is visiting the complex. I think it was the badminton at Bolton, because everything wasn't in Manchester. And I was at the badminton in Bolton. I had a whole list of things to do. And they said, right, you've all got a chance to meet Prince Edward. And I thought, I'm not bothered about meeting Prince Edward. I've got a list of all these people to do for BBC Scotland and Northern Ireland. And but don't you want to meet Prince Edward? No. Well, we can't let you leave the room, because he's coming to. And he walked up and down, and all the journalists just like, okay, mate, what do you want? You know, we're working.
You're so rock and roll, Jeremy. It's
so rock and roll. Yeah. How did you get into speaking then, David? Was it because you were catering at these events and you thought these speakers aren't up to much? I could do better than that.
No, to be honest, I used to hire some entertainers and speakers occasionally for events, and never crossed my mind. No, I became a speaker because I'd started a bizarre hobby of interviewing successful people to understand how I could be more effective. And over 22 years, I've now interviewed 258 top achievers, and bizarrely, people pay me to tell them what I found out about goal setting, and it's become my living. It's a privilege.
Yeah, because I got into it because I used to be the MC at conferences, because I was the bloke off the radio and then off the telly. They used to say, can you come and introduce the event? And I would be the MC and I'd just introduce people and I think, well, they're a bit rubbish. I could do better than that. So I put in my contract that if don't give me a hard time, Liz. I'm Graham Norton. I'm not David Dimbleby. I'm the nice one now. I put into my contract that if any of the speakers didn't turn up, I had a keynote that I could do. And one time I was at an event and it was a 3-day event. And on day one, some people hadn't arrived that were speaking the next day. And they said, oh, we need to do your talk. And I thought, oh yeah, that is in my contract. I probably better think about what that is. And so I did a talk called How to Think on Your Feet, which I wrote mainly the night before, and it went down really well. Then after that, I actually did have a talk, and then I started doing it all the time. So that all worked out very well. One thing I heard on the radio today, someone talking about what they call underpants in different parts of the country, and people were saying that in some parts of the UK, they call underpants clackers. Now, I was thinking that in my first week at university, what tends to happen in your first week is people talk about your A-level results, the grades you've got to get you into university, and then where you're from. And then by about the second week, it's words that you have for underpants. I think this is a common theme amongst freshers in the first or second week, what you call underpants. So I thought I'd ask you all in turn what you call underpants. So let's go to Paul first for a South African. What do you call underpants, Paul?
Oh, it's just undies.
Just undies. Right.
Undies, yeah.
And are pants not underpants? They're trousers. Are they pants for you?
Yeah, usually. And if you're Afrikaans, then you say it's a pant.
Pant.
It's a
no,
pant.
We've only got one leg, but we put both of our legs down it.
Yes, but that's what it becomes. Look, we sometimes say underpants, but generally the abbreviation is just undies.
Okay, undies, right? Okay, but I'm obsessed with the fact you call pants pant.
Let's go to Liz. Because the S on the end is such a waste of a consonant, isn't it?
Like, no.
The point is not that the S is missing. The point is the accent. You're calling it the pant.
Pant. Okay. No, I'm too tired to do the S. I've been working in the fields and just annoying the British. So I can't say my
That
S.
was a great Brummie accent there, Jeremy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll come to Brummie in a minute. I always like to impersonate my guests. It's hard to do, Liz. She doesn't really have an accent. So Liz, what do you...
I do actually.
What is it?
Very carefully, I've got an accent with vowels.
You've got a what accent?
My vowels are very flat, Jeremy. So if you listen, I say bath. I don't say bath.
Right. Okay. Bath.
I say I'll have a bath. I don't say I'll have a bath in the castle. I say I'll have a bath in the castle.
Yeah. Well, let's hope the Queen doesn't mind. But, what you're suffering from there, the medical term is irritable bowel syndrome. That's what you've got.
Very funny. Very.
Thank you. What do you call underpants then?
What was that noise?
I don't know. There's a funny rang noise. Oh, David's got his little machine. Okay.
Well, underpants depends whether undergarments have a gender. So if it's blokes, it's underpants.
Right.
And if it's for women, it's knickers.
Yeah. But we don't say underpants. We just say pants, don't we? We don't say underpants, do we?
Pants. For blokes, I'd say underpants.
Yeah. You'd say
I
underpants.
don't have this conversation very often.
It depends how long you've got, isn't it? If it's quick, put your pants back on. My husband's car's on the drive. You know, you'd say you wouldn't go for underpants because you wouldn't have time because of the stress of the situation.
Too long a word, exactly.
Yeah. So, David, what do you say in the Midlands?
Well, I call them pants. Brummies call them undercrackers, or when I was a kid in the Scouts, we called them skiddies. Won't go there. We'll move on.
Right, so it's not. So I'm saying clackers, but you're saying undercrackers.
Undercrackers.
Yeah, so maybe it's not clackers. Maybe it's crackers.
Oh, I've heard them called clackers as well.
Yeah, the clackers were also those balls that you used to have in the 70s. That used to go dong dong dong, and then you could go like that, and they go over like that. But sometimes people would break their wrists, wouldn't they?
I think you found the connection there.
Paul's wondering what the heck we're on about. It was a wild story in the 70s when you went up and down with it, and it was very, very dangerous. The other expression I just wanted to check that do you have any terms that you thought were like real words in English, but it turns out are very, very specific to either your family or your local area. So I'll give you an example. In my family, if people are fidgeting a lot, we say they're jiffling. Stop jiffling. And I've said that quite a few times. People, I don't know what that means, jiffling. Do you have any words like that, David? In the West Midlands, it's like another world.
Yeah, I sort of grew up right on the edge of the Black Country in Birmingham, so got a foot in both camps, and there's loads of them. But my favourite one to annoy people is Boston. If something's really good, it's Boston.
Yes. Now I only know that phrase because I remember going on a holiday with all my extended family, and my brother-in-law, who was from Solihull, was in a jacuzzi, and he did that visual joke where he went, "Oh, Boston curry last night," you know, suggesting there might be flatulence involved in the bubbles of the thing, and we all went, "What does that mean?" Do you have any words, Paul, that we would not understand?
Not really, except that my dad had a few expressions that he used to use. The one was that he said he's going to fix me. Now that would suggest that he was going to help me to come right, but he meant that in a different way. It really meant he was going to sort me out. So I don't know if that's particular to our household or something. I'm going to fix you.
Isn't that a Coldplay song?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Liz, do you have
really meant I'm going to fix you?
Yeah, going to fix you. Liz, do you have any special words that people would not understand?
Can't think of a particular family one. I'd have to think longer. Again, not from my accent. You wouldn't know that I spent most of my formative years in the northeast of Scotland, and there's a very distinct dialect up there. So if I were to say to you, "Oh, he's a right chuchter," you probably wouldn't know what I was speaking about.
No,
would you, David? Do you know?
Yeah.
What,
yeah.
What
well, it depends which part of Scotland you're calling a chuchter from, but normally, because in the Highlands, because I worked and lived in the Highlands for 3 years as a chef, and they used to call chuchters anyone south of Glasgow. But maybe you've got a different interpretation.
Yeah, a chuchter, because I'm very north of Glasgow. Well, I'm not right now, I'm in Hungerford, but then I was very north of Glasgow. And a chuchter is somebody from the countryside, an uneducated person from the countryside is a chuchter.
I worked with a guy when I was a student. I went on industrial attachment to British Steel in Corby, which is virtually part of Scotland if you've ever been to Corby, because there's the steelworks moved down in the 30s. Stewart and Lloyd's of Glasgow moved down lock, stock and barrel. So people from Corby, if you meet them, 80% chance they're going to have a Scottish accent, even though they might never have been born in Scotland, but they always have the accent. And one of the guys I worked with, he was actually from Aberdeen, and he used to, when he have a drink, he'd get very, very Scottish. And he used to say that his dad would always greet people, and he'd look at the children and he'd say, "Oh, you've got a couple of stoters there and a bonny wee loon."
A loon and
yeah. What does that mean? Is it boys and girls? I can't remember which way around.
A loon, right. So northeast, a loon is a boy and a quine is a girl. A wee quine.
I wonder where I've got stoter from then. Where does that?
Don't know.
Yeah. It's one of those.
So is this like Graham Norton? Am I allowed to talk to other guests? So David, where in Scotland were you?
I worked in a little country house hunting lodge halfway between Inverness and Ullapool in a little place called Inchbay near Garve.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Did you want to chat to anyone else, Liz? Do you want to ask Paul something?
Not particularly, Paul.
Speak to Priscilla if you like.
Yes. Oh no, let's just see what props people have got. So tell me about Priscilla.
Well, she's a pig that my mother gave me probably about 10 Christmases ago, and I didn't warm to her at first, but she's now in all my interviews and all the little quirky tips that I do that I put on YouTube. You'll always see Priscilla sitting in the distance, and she asks very intelligent questions that you wouldn't expect from a pig.
Pigs are intelligent, though, aren't they?
Yeah. There's a van.
You see, if you look at her carefully, she's a gypsy pig. You see?
Of course.
Yeah.
Looks like a Rastafarian gypsy pig. I'll be honest.
Yeah, and she's famous, of course, because she's been on video and on interviews and on YouTube.
Fantastic. And David, you've got some. I've just remembered that at some point when we heard a funny noise, you held up a little red box. Can you show me what is that?
Yeah. It's a little sound machine. I nicked it off my son a few weeks ago because, like most speakers, we're not presenting, so we're just doing webinars, interviews, and cool stuff like this for you, Jeremy. And I just started interrupting interviews with bizarre sounds, and it's kind of stuck. Got a bit of a reputation for it now. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Have you got anything like laughter or applause on there?
Yeah,
No, that's not laughter or applause. What was that?
That's applause.
Oh, is it? Right. Okay.
And the laughter.
What I love about that is that
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, you're able to do this stuff without moving your lips, which is wonderful. You know, most of the sounds that I make, I've got to make dramatic gestures, like sort of.
So,
Very good.
David, if I do a witty line, can you then press the laughter thing?
Okay, let's see what we can do there. Go on.
Now, just in case you don't
recognize witty, Jeremy.
In case you don't recognize it, where the funny bit is, I'm going to point like that when I think I've done the funny bit. Okay.
Can I choose the response, or does it have to be laughter?
No, you can choose it. Of course you can. Of course you can. This is whatever you want, mate.
Got to be appropriate.
But I'll do that when I think. I'll do that when I think there should be laughter. But then if you want to, in the East London, we say "do me up like a kipper," then that would be fine.
Okay.
Or mug me off. That'd be another way of saying it.
Do him up like a kipper, David.
Doing me up like a kipper. So it's just a very short thing. So the people of Leicester have been told they've got to be locked down, haven't they, for another 2 weeks? And legally, they're not allowed to, go to Nottingham or Derby, which will be opening at the weekend, to have a beer or go to a restaurant. In fact, the only place they're legally allowed to go is Barnard Castle. Thanks very much. God, I wish we'd had that earlier, because I think that adds a lot. I think it really does. It lifts it, doesn't it? Punctuates it.
Although one of my friends from America sent me this one. It's a Donald Trump sound box.
Oh, yeah.
So all sorts of fun with that one again.
I will build a great, great wall. And Mexico will pay for it.
There we go.
Fantastic. I love that. Right. I've just remembered that we're meant to be finished in 30 minutes, and I've been chatting on rather a lot, but it's been lovely. It's been fantastic having you all on here. But also, it's West Ham against Chelsea tonight, and I need to be watching that because I've been having far too nice a time in lockdown that West Ham have decided to give me a relegation battle to make it even more stressful for me. So I'm now going to go and watch that. And my dad's already texted me saying, "Are you watching live?" Meaning otherwise we'll be going, "Oh crikey, that was never a goal." So no, don't spoil it for me, because my dad was in his working life, he was a Boots the Chemist manager. He was a pharmacist and he loved football, but because he worked at Boots, which is a shop, on a Saturday, he had to work mainly on Saturdays, so he didn't get to see the football. So he would mainly watch Match of the Day, and we were never allowed to tell him the football scores so that he could watch it on Match of the Day and enjoy it. And I just remember one year, and I think it was the year Arsenal had won the cup, and he didn't know that. And even though we were living in London, it was amazing for him to get home. None of us told him, and he hadn't found out that Arsenal had won the cup. And then it started the programme, and Jimmy Hill was presenting Match of the Day, and next to him was the FA Cup with red and white ribbons on it. And he's like, "Well, Arsenal have won the cup, and now we're going to show you how they did it." And Dad was furious. And so were a lot of very angry people, and letters were written to the Daily Telegraph. And since then, they've never done that. And so Dad sent me a lovely text message saying, "Are you watching live?" And I said, "No, I've got my show at 8. And he went, "Oh yeah, okay." Because whenever West Ham win, wherever I am in the world speaking, wherever my dad is, when West Ham win, we send each other a text as soon as we've got the result, and it just says WDW, which stands for "We the winner." We the winner. Yeah. And just a couple of times when I haven't been watching it live, and I thought, "Oh, I'll watch that now," and then I'll perhaps be watching it half an hour behind on catch up. and I'll get a text saying we the winner, and I think, oh, we win then. Anyway, I always get all my guests on the show to have a chance to plug themselves, because we're all working speakers who are trying to earn a living during this lockdown. And loads of speaker bookers watch this program on the hunt for good speakers. You know, literally 2 or 3 of them watch every week. So I'm going to give you all a chance to plug yourself. So let's start with David. What you speak about and how people find you, website, that sort of thing.
Thank you, Jeremy. I talk about massive goals. My research with top achievers has proven that SMART goals set us up for mediocrity at best. And basically put David Hyner, Hyner, into the internet. I'm over it like a rash. But YouTube, LinkedIn, I'm there. Go for it.
Fantastic. And Liz?
So I am on lizallen.com, LISALLEN.com, I'll say it again, Liz with an S. And I speak on emotional intelligence. It's taken me a long time to feel that I was an authority on this, you know, to be satisfactorily emotionally intelligent enough to do it. But that's what I'm speaking on at them right now.
And with your emotional intelligence, how annoyed would you be if a speaker booker was watching this and went to lizallen.com with a Z? How annoyed would you be now?
I would be very unaware that that's what they've done.
You wouldn't know, would you? You would not know.
I would be calm.
Yeah, no, because
I'm like David. I'm all over like a rash, so they'd find me eventually.
We don't need to hear about your medical conditions. And Paul, how do people?
So apart from being a speaker coach and presentation skills coach, which is really my daytime job, so at night I'm a speaker on customer experience and also on mindset shift. And particularly now, where people are they're being forced to shift their mindsets quite radically. There's a lot of material just kind of springing out at me, which is pretty nice. So yeah.
And a website they can find you at?
They can find me at pauldutoit.net. So it's PaulDutoit.net.
I'd change your name to Paul of the Roof. Much easier to remember, mate.
So that's paulontheroof.net, paul.net.
Yeah, it's not.
pauldutoit.net. I don't know what it is.
What's Cockney rhyming slang for roof? Come on, there must be something in here that we could reconstruct.
I don't know, because although I'm a West Ham fan, I'm not what you'd call a dyed-in-the-wool Cockney, on account of up until I was 6, I was an East Anglian, and then suddenly I was plucked from East Anglia and thrown into East London. So I didn't necessarily grow up with jellied eels in my blood and the sound of bow bells.
Answers on a postcard then.
Yeah. And really what I'm thinking is that if I keep talking nonsense, will it come into my head what the Cockney rhyming slang is for roof? Well, let's make one up. Come on, we've got a hive mind here. I wanted... What is it?
A Babe Ruth.
Something about Babe, on the hoof.
Babe Ruth. Yeah, that's not really. It's got a rhyme though, and Babe. Oh, I suppose because a Cockney would say roof, wouldn't he? So Babe. Yeah. Okay.
Babe Ruth.
Roof. So roof. What words rhyme with roof? Aloof.
Hoof.
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 No, pigs don't have hoofs, do they?
Horses have hoof.
Yes.
Pigs have trotters, don't they?
Yes.
Trotters, pigs, Del Boy Rodney. They all have trotters, but hoof.
Spoof. Wow, this is a gripping end to the show.
So, no, I can't say that.
Aren't you glad I suggested this, Jeremy?
Yeah. So I have a series of filters that I run in my head on things I can and can't say, and I just came up with something that rhymes with hoof, and there is a Cockney rhyming slang for it. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to get into any kind of trouble.
Good boy.
Good. So we've all moved on from that. Right. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to off to see West Ham and Chelsea, wherever you are. I raise a glass to look. This is a magic trick. Look at this. There we go. Look, glass of whiskey. It's empty. Put it there. Completely disappears inside St. Paul's. Thank you so much. I've got some fantastic guests next week, including oh, hang on, I've just panicked because I'm not sure if he is next week or the week after. Bear with, let me just get it up. I've got Mark Shardlow on next week, who's an old BBC colleague of mine, and Nigel Risner is on next week. And then in future weeks, I've got Viv Krieger, used to be a Sky News presenter, and I've got Andy Lapata coming on. So he's got some brilliant guests. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just going to say goodbye to the people on the live stream now, and then I'll say goodbye to you, and we'll sort out your fees and your traveling expenses once we say goodbye to the people. But good night, everyone. Good night. Bye-bye, YouTube. It's been a